Nani hapa anajua carbon ni nini? Carbon credit.
Hajajua.
Hujui?
Unaona kama carbon ni pepo.
Ni upepo.
Pepo tu ile majini kama mashetani.
Hao watu walikuja wakasema tuko na project ya carbon na tunawalipa $2 kwa mwaka kwa eka. Hiyo ni kama 250 shillings per year,
Yes.
per eka.
Conversations that were going on in the village is that we are going to get money for free.
Magadi is one of the historical injustices done to our community, and we are now fearing to sign any other agreement.
For the first time in this community since 1973, there has never been an actual war. So right now, Soils for Future Africa to this community is not just a carbon credit proponent, rather a warlord. Because for the first time, we've been to an actual war against our own people.
Mumepigana.
Yes.
Kwa nini Maasai tu ndio carbon anasunguka kutafuta area ya Maasai?
Mtu akuja akae kwa shamba ya watoto wangu 40 years. Mimi niko na 40 and above years sahi. 40 years zingine shamba yangu ikikaa na sijapewa. Watoto wangu watakaa wapi?
Why do they come and tell me the way I should live? That shows me that it is a methodology of modern colonization.
This is a community that has had ways of solving its problem. Even atmospheric problems, we have had our own ways of solving them. So we did not really need this investor to come in and impose their punitive policies in the name of environmental conservation.
I like to tell STFA, the company, please stay away from our land. What is your problem? Stay away from it. People have rejected it. People don't want that carbon thing. If perhaps in future we might be interested, maybe we might give you a two-year contract, you paying us 1 million shillings for 100 acres every year.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of LNS. My name is Lynn Ngugi, and as always we get to meet for another conversation where we get to do the 3 things we are doing this season. We are learning and relearning, and I know obviously you can see the setup today is a bit different, and you will see us doing more of these conversations because we have got to engage people and we have got to hear what they are saying. Most of the times when people come out and say a public participation was done and these people were in agreement, half of the time is no public participation was conducted and no one agreed, and that is the basis of our conversation today. I am in Oldonyonyokie, right here in a group ranch. This is actually a communal land that is owned by these incredible people you are seeing here. And when I got an email from one of the gentlemen by the name Evans, who you will get to listen to right now, he said, Lynn, someone is trying to force us into signing a carbon credit deal and we are not okay with it. This is Soil for the Future Africa Limited. They said, you know what, we are not going to sign this. Our people don't understand what carbon credit is and we don't feel okay, giving our land for 40 years lease to definitely an initiative we do not get to understand. So today, listen in and get to understand what are the new ways colonial masters are using to colonize our people. What is carbon credits, and why is it that they have a tendency of targeting specific people in our community? Without further ado, allow me to welcome our people today so that we can be able to participate in this conversation. And as always, leave me your thoughts on the comment section, because that is very, very important to me. So good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm very fine.
You are well?
I'm well.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay.
All right, so maybe you could start by introducing yourself and tell us why are we here.
Okay, my names are Ivan Silesinko. I'm a bona fide member of this group branch, Oldonyonyokie. And we are here today to use this platform to address the world that this is a group branch, and there are people who are targeting this communal land, maybe to make people more vulnerable. They want to bring projects that instead of making us to be sustainable to our livelihoods, it's even making us to be more vulnerable. So we are here to address the world, even to pass the message to the owners of those projects who are coming to Oldonyonyokie. And to give a nutshell of this place,
Yes.
Oldonyonyokie, it's a group that is 16,000 hectares in hectares, and this phase 2. It has phase 1.
So that's
169,000 acres.
169,000 acres.
Yes. So it has phase 1 and phase 2. So we are now in phase 2. This is phase 2. Phase 1 is on the other side. So that's why the reason why we are here today is we want to address the world, that even those who are diaspora who want to bring projects, we want to address them to stop bringing things that will affect our people instead of helping them. So that's the reason we are here.
All right.
Yes.
Do you think the world is finally ready to listen to you people? Do you think they are ready to listen to the people who belong in these specific places when they say enough is enough, we don't want this?
Yes, that's why we are using this platform to address them, because previously we have suffered from land injustice. Out of our literacy, most of our old men are illiterate, and we have lost land before. And again, we have another project for carbon that is coming to our group branch, and they want to sign a treaty of 40 years, and which we have already experienced before. And that's why we want to address that. It's enough now. We don't want to go through all that pain that we have gone through.
All right.
Yes.
And I know you guys are ready to talk about Magadi.
Yes.
You've said you don't understand what happened in Magadi.
Yes.
There is also a GSU training center around
Yes.
that you say you don't understand.
Yes.
But allow me to pass this mic to the gentleman right there, so that he can be able to walk us through the history of this place, and also what are some of the things the community does not agree with. Okay.
My name is Samuel Kudate. A member of Oldonyonyokie Group Branch in Magadi Division. And I just want to correct my friend. Oldonyonyokie Group Branch has got 68,566 hectares all over. It has got 2 phases, Mosenge phase 1 and Oldonyonyokie phase 2. And by land injustice, I can just come to our mindset that we as the Maasai community suffered a lot in land injustice. Just remember that we are pushed all the way from highlands, Nakuru, Nairobi, up to here. So there were a lot of land injustice before. In 1911, maybe 1900 to 1911, there was a mining company called Magadi in our local area. The company ended in an agreement with Libon Olanana just around, historically around 1911. I remember it's 1911 because in 2011 they were celebrating 100 years. They went into an agreement of 99 years. The community doesn't know the terms of an agreement. The acreage acquired by the company, we don't know. Although they are landmark, but the owners of the land, they don't know. So we are sitting on the land owned by somebody else in papers, in an agreement. We heard that after 99 years, there was another agreement signed to extend the lease of Magadi without the notice of members. Otherwise, this is a time of modern colonization, because whatever we have seen there, it's not good for us, but it has been exercised.
Let me ask you, you are saying, nataka kuuliza hii swali, mnajua Magadi?
Yeah.
Nyinyi mnaelewa agreement ya Magadi ilipeanwa aje? Hamuelewi? So mlishtukia tu Magadi imeenda. Hamuelewi nani alisign Magadi? Hamuelewi? Hakuna hata mtu mmoja hapa anaelewa. Kidogo nisaidie. Aha.
Yani wakati sisi tulisaliwa, tulikuwa nasikia agreement tulikuwa mesign na msee mmoja, yani ilikuwa Loiboni naitwa Lanana. Tulikuwa medanganywa akasign, yani sijui kitu tulikuwa nataka kupeanwa, yani nilidanganywa itapeana kitu fulani, yani ndio walifanya kasign mwaka kama 100
na Magadi hiyo mwaka 99 ama hiyo iliisha, wameongezewa. Mnajua waliongezewa aje?
Hakuwa anajua, tulikuwa wameongezewa, sijui hatujui wameongezewa aje hiyo agreement.
So what essentially happened is, when the agreement was nearing, its life cycle, because it was a 1999 lease agreement, what the company did, because it used to be owned by Branamond Holdings, Magadi Soda Company.
Yes.
So it was sold to Tata Chemicals of India. And now what they did, they started going around and engaging some members of the community to sign a new agreement of 40 years. So essentially, there were those discussions. Eventually, they came to an agreement of 40 years.
When you say some members of the community, legally, can they transact such a deal? Are they allowed to have a conversation and go on with such a deal?
To talk about that topic is that once the 99 years are over,
yes,
Magadi Soda brought some leaders, the community leaders. They toured them to India, and they facilitated them, and they brought Magadi, and they housed them. They give their facilities, and so they signed that agreement without the consultation of the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you
we are not informed. They are just collect the councillors, the chiefs. They were taken to India.
Did you question the people who went to India? Have you ever had mshakuwa?
Well, we demonstrated, and I was one of in 2004. We were arrested because we were demonstrating that idea. So we were arrested. We go to Kibera Law Court. We finalized the case. We won the case, but nothing did. The contract just continued.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you consider Magadi part of your land?
No, it is not ours.
No, before it was taken, was it part of your land?
Yes, it was.
How so? Walk us through.
Before 1972, when the group ranches were demarcated, Magadi was just the whole community, including Shompole, Kramatian, Orkeri, and Oldonyonyokie. They are one community. Then they come to subdivide the group ranches, and they bring Magadi as one of the individual ranches in our community. Yeah. So they grabbed more than 224 acres of land, including
224,000
acres, including concession. They're saying concession areas. Magadi is one of the historical injustices done to our community, and we are now fearing to sign any other agreement because we have already seen that, and we are also seeing GSU here. Just they grabbed the land, more than 3,715 acres of land, just to compensate with 6 million only.
6 million shillings.
6, yeah.
That's what the community was given.
And no project they have done. So they just they said 6 million. The community were not didn't participate. It was only the management committee and some senior officers in the government by that time. That's around 1994, and we are not consulted.
Maybe to emphasize on that, what Mr. said about the GSU. So the group ranch leaders took a loan from the government and they defaulted. So when they defaulted, now the government wants their money, and therefore they requested, can we have a collateral? Now the land has the collateral. So that's where they took all that land, but we don't know how much was sold, how much they sold an acre. We don't know who was doing the pricing of that acreage land. So that's why the 3,700 acres at 6 million Kenya shillings.
Now, you said the group ranch leaders took a loan.
Yes.
They took a loan for what from the government?
The group ranch by that time were loaned by AFC.
Yes.
To do restocking, to buy fattening steers for the purpose of some water project. That was the objective, but they failed. They just misappropriated the funds and they went away. So the FC wanted to sell Oldonyonyokie group ranch. By good faith, the late President Daniel Arap Moi came to Magadi. That's 1992. And we told them there are some Jesus who are around here. We pray that the government may compensate so that Oldonyonyokie, the whole group ranch of 170,000 acres, not to be taken by FC. And then he accepted and they came in without doing any evaluation. They just come and bring that. The loan was 3.5 million by that time, 1994. So the rest 2.5 were also being misappropriated by the group ranch committee.
Okay, so according to you, how does the community benefit from Magadi or from the GSU? How do you benefit from all this? Do you benefit?
Not really. We may get some water. We have some water points that Magadi sometimes drink, of which it's not even reliable. So it's not. It's no any storage tanks that they are going to put. So you don't know when to bring, how the quantity of water they are bringing. So they are doing more harm than good, surely.
So the only way you benefit is from water.
Sure.
Alone. Huh? I want to ask a few questions. Sure. Maybe you can give me the mic. Huh? Nani hapa anajua carbon ni nini? Carbon credit. Usiogope, venye tu unaweza fikiria hivyo. Nani anaweza tuambia carbon credit ni nini? Kulingana na venye wewe unaisikia tu. Wacha nijaribu mzee hapa. Ifikirie tu,
Hajajua.
Ujui? Haya. Carbon, nataka tu mtu aniambie carbon. Tuambie, ako nayo, wacha atuambie.
Unaona kama carbon ni pepo.
Ni upepo.
Pepo tu ile majini kama mashetani. Juu. Hii watu hata walituambia ya mara ya kwanza. Ni kitu hamtaona tukibeba. Sasa mtu akikwambia anakuja kufanya biashara kwako na hautaona ile kitu anabeba, lakini anakulipa, utafikiria nini?
Haya.
Sitakaa kama ni pepo.
Hiyo malipo ilikuwa pesa ngapi? Wewe walikupata?
Tulikuwa kwa mkutano.
Waliwaambia nini?
Walituambia ni milioni 21. Wakarudi tena wakasema ni milioni 17. Lakini ile kitu watu walishangaa, unalipa nini? Na hatuoni ile kitu unabeba. Kwa hivyo
haya, naona mzee anataka kujaribu. Wewe pia unaona ni upepo ama pepo?
Vile mimi najaribu kujua carbon ni nini. Nafikiri ni hewa, ni upepo ambao umetumika. Lakini vile walikuja kutuambia ni kwamba tunachukua hewa ambayo imechafuka kwenda kuuza uzunguni ama sijui pahali fulani. Lakini na pesa ile anasema $2 kwa eka moja.
$2?
$2 kwa eka moja.
Kwa mwezi ama kwa mwaka?
Kwa mwaka.
Kwa mwaka moja? Hekta. Kwa mwaka moja. Acha tusikie kwa mzee.
Kwa mimi, as you can see the meeting of now,
yes,
ni wa Maasai, hawajasoma. Sasa kujaribu kuambia carbon itakuwa ni kupoteza wakati, kwa sababu hawajui ni nini. Jina lenyewe hawajui ni nini, wacha kitendo yenyewe. So hao watu walikuja wakasema tuko na project ya carbon na tunawalipa $2 kwa mwaka kwa eka. That ukijaribu kubadilisha hiyo pesa ya Kenya, hiyo ni kama 250 shillings per year,
yes,
per eka.
Hectare.
Per eka. AC eka. So hapo tukaanza kuwa na shida, maswali mengi. Kwa sababu ukijaribu kukompea vile uko na plot wewe mwenyewe, plot ambayo watu wanaishi, rental plot. Tuseme hapa Kamukuru unalipa 1,000 per door per month. That is 12,000 a year. Na ukijaribu kukompea 250 shillings and that acre by that year, unaona kuna kisungumkuti hapo. Sijui kama umenishika vile nasema.
Nimekushika.
So hiyo tukaanza kuona kwamba hii hesabu haingiani. Lakini bado kuna maswali chungu mzima, na kama nitachukua nafasi ya kuzungumzia mambo ya vile carbon alikuja, nitakueleza vile ilikuja mpaka vile tulikataa.
Sawa, narudi kwako kidogo, lakini mkutano pia tuko na wamama, wacha tusikie maybe kutoka kwa mmoja wao. Si ni sawa? Mam, nyinyi mnaelewa nini carbon credit ni nini?
Hii kitu inaitwa carbon ni pepo. Lakini wakati walikuja, kuna mahali walikuwa wanasema watasaidia wajane. Lakini kuna mahali imefika akaona kumbe wanakuja kutunyanyasa zaidi, kutufinyilia chini zaidi. Na pia akaongelelea kwa sababu hapa Oldonyonyokie tumekuwa na project zingine zimekuwa hapa, na tulikuwa tunatarajia kama itatusaidia sisi kama wajane ama sana sana sisi kina mama, lakini inatufinyilia chini zaidi.
Mama amekuelezea pia yani katika kutaka watu wapige saini mkataba wa carbon, hiyo ndio njia walipitia katika kuwa convince. Maanake unakuta ni wajane, na kama ni wajane inamaanisha kwamba mume wake ndio alikuwa ameandikwa kwenye kitabu cha eneo, yani cha group ranch. So bwanake alipokufa inamaanisha ana nafasi ya kusimamia bwana yake. Kwa hiyo wajane wakaadaiwa kwamba wapige tu msaini mkataba wa carbon, kisha pia wakaambiwa kwamba watalipiwa shamba zao. Maanake sasa hivi tulikuwa katika process ya land subdivision, na nafikiria pia ingekuwa topic ya kudiscuss. Maanake kuna udanganyifu mwingi sana katika huo ugavi wa hili eneo ili liwe individual land ownership. So udanganyifu mmoja ni huo, walikuwa wanawaambia wamama hivyo kwamba fanyeni hivi, nyie mmepoteza mme zenu, pigeni tu, andikeni, sainini hii mkataba wa carbon, kisha shamba zenyu mtalipiwa. Kisha mama akaongeza kwamba walipoangalia ile area list, yani ile karatasi ambayo inaonyesha wale ambao watagawiwa hiyo shamba, wakakuta kwamba hata vijana wao wengine walitolewa katika ile area list. Kwa hivyo hata watapoteza shamba. Watoto wao sasa watapoteza shamba.
Haya.
Mimi naitwa Faith Sitat Senteu. Mimi ni mjane from 2004. Na tulikuwa tumeambiwa, mimi hata nikikaa hapa, mimi watoto wangu walikuwa wameandikwa 2 na sasa wametolewa. Na nikaambiwa
kidogo, wameandikwa wapi
na walikuwa wameandikwa kwa register na wametolewa kwa register. Na nikaambiwa, nikaenda nikafuata, nikaambiwa kompyuta imeruka. Nikashindwa sana, hii kompyuta ni mjanja ama kompyuta inafanya kazi peke yake, imetoa watoto wangu 2. 2, tumeambiwa kabla nikikuja tukubali kwa sababu itatulipia mashamba, especially sisi wajane. Tukasema tunalipiwa aje mashamba na hata watoto wetu wametolewa? Na kama sisi wajane hatujailipiwa hata school fees ya secondary, na sasa watoto wetu wako university. Tukaona hiyo ni unyanyasaji na ni udanganyifu, na tukasema hatutaki majina ya wajane watumiwe. Yani sisi tutumiwe kama wajane. Eti tukubali carbon ikuje itulipie mashamba. Sababu hijatulipia, hata imetunyanyasa. Na hata hiyo group ranch imetunyanyasa. Kama watoto wametolewa wakiwa kwa register, ni shamba utalipiwa. Sasa sisi kabisa kama wajane, we are group, tuko group hapa. Na tumekuja tukisema tunataka kujua ni wajane wangapi wamelipiwa hiyo pesa na ni wangapi wako tayari kulipiwa, kwa sababu hiyo ni kutumia jina yetu vibaya.
Kidogo, kuna kitu unasema register.
Yes.
Hii register ni nini na ni nani wamewekwa hapo? Endelea.
Mimi kuna register ya group branch members.
Yes.
Mimi nina present bwana yangu sababu amekufa. Na akikufa alikuwa ameandika vijana wangu 2. Mmoja anaitwa Emmanuel Ndete Senteu. Mwingine anaitwa Pose Abraham Senteu. Mimi hata nikiolewa nilikuwa nazaa nikifuata majina iko kwa register. Lakini saa hii tukiongea watoto wangu hawako kwa register. Na nikafuata nikauliza na nikaambiwa ni kompyuta imetoa.
Haya. Niambie, wewe unajua nini kuhusu carbon na uliambiwa nini?
Carbon ni kama ndio wale watu ambao wako na akili, ambaye anatumia hewa kuja kukula area hii. Hiyo sio watu wa nyeusi, watu kutoka ng'ambo ndio akili yao ikachukua hiyo akili kakuja kuchukua hii hewa hapa kwenda kukula. Mimi nafikiri kama hiyo ndio carbon.
Now, if we were looking for statistics, then you get to understand majority of these community members don't even understand what carbon is. But another issue is being raised here, a register, for us to be able to understand how a communal land runs and the legality of things. Allow us to go back to this gentleman so that he can be able to walk us through what is this register and how come some of the members of this community are missing from this register. Haya.
Hii ni group ranch. Ilianza kutambuliwa na serikali mwaka wa 1772. Na kuwa sheria kwa group ranch ni lazima iwe na title, register na map. Register ina contain wale members ambao watakuwa shareholders hiyo ranch. Wakati huo wazazi wetu ndio walikuwa members. Waliregister wakiwa 125 members. Ilikuwa wana register after 5 years wana register new members. Ukisha 18 years wana register new members. So ilienda wakiregister mpaka 1994 ndio waliregister last group of members. 1994. Last group of members. 13th December.
Yes.
Ndio waliregister last group of members.
Na hiyo saa iko na watu wangapi?
Iko na watu 1,136.
Na hapa saa hii mmefika wangapi?
Wapi hapo?
Huku.
Total ya registered ni 1136.
Sawa.
Unregistered, together with the registered, we are more than 6,000.
Okay. So more than 4,000 are not registered.
More than 4,000 not registered.
Okay.
Wakati huo, there was an AGM wali convince, chaired by Land Adjudication Office. Wakasema they are not going to recruit new registered members. So, up to that time, mpaka 2012, wakaanza kusema, we are going to subdivide this parcel of land. By that time, kukaanza kufanyika some illegalities in subdivision. There was a lack of transparency in subdivision by the group ranch in office. Then, after members realizing that there were a lot of illegalities, they took an action of removing them from office. They were removed in office in 2016. Currently, we have got a new group ranch office, which is in office for 9 years. But actually, those are the people who messed the whole community. By pretending that they are subdividing the land, they went to an extent of increasing new members, including their wives, multiple allocation of parcel to their wives, relatives, children, and their friends, companies, and people who have so much influence in the offices of the government. So the number rise from 1136 to almost 2,000. When we realized that, we went back to the beneficiary list, whereby it is called the area list, where when you appear in the area list, then you have a plot or a plot number in this ranch, or you are located a parcel of land in this ranch. But after going through that area list, we noted a lot of illegalities. As I told you that, multiple allocation of people in office to their wives. You get somebody allocated 10 parcel of land to his wife, a numeral number of parcel to his children, and that was not in a proper manner because there was no AGM undertaken by the members to allow that figure to extend to that. So by now, as the lady said that his children were omitted in that register, we are saying that, we are hoping that they are not omitted in a manner that it is not an error. It is just that somebody is removed from that register, replaced by the beneficiary of the officer.
Yes.
So we are saying that. And again, when the number rose to that extent, you know the land is not elastic. When the number rose to that extent, obvious, the acreage will be less. So we are also doubting of the acreage of the ranch, of the parcel, of the beneficiaries because of the arrest number. So what is now in the air, we are not going to have that office. They are just illegally because of their illegalities. And we have forwarded a case to court, and the proceedings are there. It is only that the ruling will be ruled very soon.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, I want us to move into the carbon credit segment so that we can be able to understand how this Soils for the Future Africa Limited waliwa approach aje na waliwaambia aje. What I have here, it's their confidential draft. This is the draft that mnafaa muangalie. Hii ndio mnafaa muangalie na msaina. So maybe allow me to call this gentleman so that he can be able to break down for us what are we looking at here and why is the community against this whole carbon credit saga. Sir, karibu sana Evans, if you can move here please.
My name is Moses Maesia. I'm a resident of Oldonyonyokie Group Ranch. I'm also a bona fide member. Of course, he has mentioned how registration was done. And when we were young, of course, you know how the Maasai society is organized. It's organized in terms of age groups and age sets. So when he did mention that in 1994, that was when they had the last registration, my father registered me. Of course, that time you were paying a fee, and then the fee was being collected by somebody. Then they had to submit the names of the children that, you know, the man, the head of the family, was providing. And even back then, I have some uncles that did not actually get registered, even though they were parents at that time. And essentially what happened is that because it was not organized in such a way that everybody who's a member of this community will be registered, some people did not submit the registration fees of some of the members. So you'd find some people from the Irikitoip age set were not actually registered. So it was not really that everybody who was born and raised in Oldonyonyokie was registered. So, but lucky enough, my dad submitted my name and they paid the registration fee and I was registered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe before we move into the carbon credits, closing in on the registration, there are more than 4,000 people here who have not been registered. What's their fate? What is likely to happen? Do they have a voice? Do they belong, or where can they call home?
That is essentially the problem that we have right now. So essentially, we've had some people, of course, the present leadership, we've had some people from the present leadership calling them squatters and calling them, you know, those are non-members. Yet these are members that were born here. They can go back in genealogy and show you how that their parents were here in the 1950s, in the 1940s. And yet because they missed that bit of registration, now they're calling them landless. So that is essentially the problem that the present regime is not trying to solve. Hawataki kusikia watu hapa hawana ardhi kwa sababu hawakuandikwa, lakini ni watu wa Oldonyonyokie. Kwa hiyo hata wengine ambao wazazi wao wako katika hiyo register wanasema, lakini hawa ni watoto wetu, si eti hawa sio watoto wetu, ni vile tu hawajaandikwa katika kitabu ambacho kinaonesha wale members. Jambo la ajabu tu vile ameelezea ni kwamba katika tu hiyo register kuna wale ambao sio wazaliwa wa hapa Oldonyonyokie. Wengine wamezaliwa Olkeri na wako katika register yetu. Kumaanisha kwamba kuna udanganyifu ambao ulifanywa na wakaandika watu ambao hata sio wa Oldonyonyokie, ilhali watoto wetu wengine, vijana wetu, hawajaandikwa katika hiyo kitabu.
Ulisema wewe labda niulize, Moses, ulizaliwa mwaka upi?
1984.
1984. Ulipozaliwa 1984 mpaka penye tumefika saa hii, what do you know about Magadi and what do you know about the GSU that is around? What are your parents telling you? What happened according to you?
Well, there is of course the version that my parents know.
Yes.
Essentially, a lot of our people are illiterate. They cannot read, they cannot write. My father cannot read, he cannot write. And what he remembers was, he himself remembers, of course, when he was a Moran, because essentially you have our way of life, where you are born, and then you start having consciousness that, you know, you are a man, and then you go through the rites of passage, you become a junior elder. Even before junior elder, like my dad used to tell me, he was a Moran, so he used to pass by the company. But remember, these are agreements that were signed in the 1920s. 1920s, it was a different age set that you know, were parents and were leaders at that time.
Yes.
They actually do not understand
the nitty-gritties of having an agreement that gives away part of your resources. Because remember that Kenya was colonized by the British.
Yes.
But the British, of course, were dividing these resources amongst themselves. Like you have the British East Africa Company. So, and a lot of those entities is what formed into the companies that you see today. Like I just did tell you that this used to be Branamont Holdings,
Yes.
UK. Then eventually they sold the company to Tata Chemicals. And so most of us have found these agreements in existence. The process of how the agreement was arrived at, we do not understand.
Okay.
The version we have is what our parents tell us. So essentially a lot of these agreements, our parents got into them without really understanding. Like he just explained, the GSU agreement. And most of it, if you look at these agreements, they always originate from a point of fear. Like we know how the British forcibly moved the Maasai when they had that agreement with Olonana. And of course, at that time, historically, some people were saying, you know, the Maasais were having inter-clan wars. So they were really at a very big disadvantage. And the British, of course, you know, their policy of divide and conquer,
Yes.
funding one side to fight the other side, therefore weakening the African tribes that were in existence. And then they come in with a pretense of providing a solution, saying that, you know, we can back you against the other side if you sign this agreement. And then that is how our people were moved, of course, from a huge part of the Kenyan highlands, and they came all the way to, of course, southern Kenya and part of northern Tanzania. So essentially, it's almost always like there is a fear factor. You know, there is something that is threatening our people, or they create something that will push our people into signing some of these agreements. In the case of the GSU camp, you've heard it was a loan. So you see, but who went to get the loan in the first place? Were the people consulted? Because many of them are here. Many of them are not consulted in many of these issues. There are no barazas to let the people know, hey, we want to do ABCD.
Hold on right there. Ya GSU, muliitwa kwa baraza? Hamkuitwa ya GSU. So hakuna mtu aliwaambia kuna loan pahali na GSU wanataka hii shamba. Loan mulielezewa ilichukuliwa ya nini? Hamjui loan?
Kwa hivyo tumekuja kusikilia tu wakati mambo imewaka. Wakati nini imeaccumulate, imekuwa pesa mingi, lakini hatujui mwanzo ilichukuliwa hiyo loan, nani alichukua na walifanya nini nayo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially you find ni ile tunasema mnauziwa uoga. You know, if you don't do this, this will happen. So essentially you find then our parents, of course, if you now call them in a baraza and you tell them there is a loan of 6 million shillings that we owe AFC.
Who is AFC?
Agricultural. Yes, just a normal AFC we know that gives loan to farmers. So, and you have a few group who are learned, some who understand, you know, some of these things that happen, but majority of our people do not really understand. So of course, it's always a small group that goes to approach some of these institutions. And remember, they are the ones in possession of the title deed of the group ranch. So they're the ones mandated by law. Remember, there was a Group Ranch Act. It was mandating the committee to do business on behalf of the community. So it is these people then that, you know, took a loan. Then, of course, it became impossible to repay the loan. Of course, and you can hear all kinds of things that they did with the money that was taken. But then they got into some kind of a debt trap. So they could not repay the debt. So what do? Now, of course, a solution was brought that there always used to be the general service people that used to train around this area. So then it was agreed that perhaps hive off a part of the land so that then it can be used, the monies from the sale of that land can be used to pay the loan that was owed to AFC.
Okay, back to Magadi, their lease expired.
Yes.
But now there is a couple of more years
Yes.
that they can go on.
Yeah.
You were very knowledgeable then when
Yes.
the lease ended. Did you participate in saying, we don't want to extend any of this lease? Did any of the people here participate in saying, waongezee miaka wako tu sawa?
I think I was in high school. So I was in high school at that time, and of course,
Yes.
we did hear about that. And the way that Tata Chemicals, remember that it was Branamond.
Yes.
So that's why I'm not saying so much about Tata Chemicals, because remember it was Branamond Holdings, and Branamond Holdings was, I think it was a UK-based company. They were the ones that had the 99-year lease. Actually, I'm not certain whether it was 999. You remember when the Kenyan government came in and said there's no such thing as 999 year. So then it was changed to 99-year lease from the time it was signed. And so then those conversations begin. Remember, these are 4 group ranches. We have Oldonyonyokie Group Ranch, we have Shompole Group Ranch, we have Olkramaten Group Ranch, and we have Olkeri Group Ranch. These 4 group ranches are the ones that surround the company today, Magadi Soda. So these 4 group ranches, the way our society is organized is when the Group Ranch Act came into effect, now we elected chairmen. So you'd find a chairman of all those 4 group ranches. But traditionally we had chiefs, and the Maasai people respect so much their chiefs. So how the company operates, which is a good structure, is that then you involved the leadership, the group ranch leadership, together with the chiefs in managing the issues of the society. So that is essentially how it runs. So every time there is an issue, or if there is, say, a lease that is going to be signed, then you have to bring all these people together, communicate with, not the people,
the leaders.
The leadership. That is what he was saying. The leaders. You'll bring the leaders together and you'd communicate with them the details of this agreement, maybe perhaps even like what he said, you know, talk to them about the agreement, take them to India, let them see all these kind of things.
Yes.
Of course, you know that all of that has to lead to the signing of the lease agreement. So I remember there were NGOs at that time. I remember, but of course I was too young and not influential enough maybe to try and change the trajectory. And they were trying, I think one of it was Impedo. They were trying to bring the community together to first of all understand the details of the lease and then maybe advise them so that then the community can decide whether they want to get into another agreement
or not.
And remember that at the expiry of the lease, that is the only chance you have to negotiate some certain concessions with the company. But unfortunately, what came out of it was another lease agreement with no tangible benefits to the community. Yeah.
Go on, sir.
Just to add on that, the renewal of the Magadi lease was not just an easy thing to the community. As spoken by James Sankairi, there are a lot of protests from the youth wanted to know what is the agreement between the Magadi Chemical, Tata Chemical, and the community. But that one turned into veil, and that's why they were jailed, because they went on to dig out to find the written document between Magadi, Tata Chemicals, and the community. So otherwise, it has gone like that, and that was only our chance, and we did not manage, simply because the elite people of the division are not united by that time, and also there were very few who can just mobilize others, the community and others, to know more about the agreement. And that has gone like that. Maybe the next chance is just after those 40 years. And I know by that time, so many people are educated, they are enlightened, and they will not be intimidated for the next time.
I love that. Huh?
And just for GSU,
Yes.
GSU company, GSU, the land for GSU, we can say that that is land justice has been done, simply because the total acreage of that land compared to the sale of that land you just see that there is a total injustice and daylight robbery.
How much is the total? 3,000?
3,700 acres.
3,700 acres. It was sold for how much?
6 million.
3,700 acres was sold for 6 million.
Yeah.
Approximately 1,500 bob per
acre. 1,500.
Yes,
this
per
is the year
1994.
1994. If we were to go back, how much would an acre cost in a good price set? 150k. 150k.
Just for simple mathematics.
Yeah.
Before even going to calculate how was that time.
Yeah.
There is a legal procedure of going to evaluate that land, soil. The valuation of that soil will just tell you the amount of money you are supposed to sell that land. So it was not done. So this 6 million, they just gave us as a grant. So
which is okay, but technically speaking, if you had land karibu na hapo
that time,
na unataka kuuza 1 acre, how much would
kuna land valuers walikuja hapa wakafanya evaluation, Kenya Koech consultants wakasema this 3,700 acres is equivalent to 220 million.
220 million against 6 million.
Against 6 million.
Go on, sir.
Okay, by that time, as it was told by, it was lamented by Moses that kuuziwa uoga. They said that the government does not buy land, so they just pay grants.
Okay,
so
thank you.
And because people are illiterate, they don't know where to go. They just say it is over and over. It went like that. Although we heard recently that some officials of Group Ranch went to petition the government. We don't know the case where it reached. We don't know when will be heard, when will be terminated. What we have heard that there is a petition between the community of Oldonyonyokie and the GSU camp.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is our people are not learned, so they do not really understand the value of land. Even right now, we are still having the same problems because, you know, some people can really misrepresent because they want to buy a piece of land. So they can tell them, you know, the land in this area is not really valuable. And that is how essentially it's almost like giving away the land for free.
All right.
For free,
Let's go into this document. This is the Carbon Rights Transfer Agreement. This is their confidential draft document. Now this would be between the individuals and the Soil for the Future Africa Limited. This is a confidential draft.
It is.
Before we go further, according to you, who is Soils for the Future Africa Limited, and what does the community know about this certain company or organization?
So Soils for the Future Africa is a company that is involved in setting up carbon projects. So far, I've heard of their projects only in pastoral areas. So essentially, we understand right now how that there is a lot of buzz in terms of climate change mitigation. And of course, you know how these things cascaded right from the COP agreements all the way to them agreeing to have a carbon market, essentially what we will call carbon market. So that companies that are setting up factories and they have, and of course, you know, when I say factories, essentially in a layman's language, it means there's a lot of pollution that is coming out of their factories, out of their industries and stuff like that. So in order maybe for them to pay for whatever they are doing, then they created a carbon market where people, groups that are conserving the environment and that are removing a certain agreed weight of carbon, then they could trade with those companies so that then the companies can continue whatever they are doing and eventually end up with whatever they call net zero.
Good.
Yeah.
You are able to define that perfectly.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at some of the definition of carbon that we gathered from the community members.
Yes.
Mimi hajajua. Hajajua.
Ujui? Haya.
Kama carbon ni pepo.
Ni upepo.
Pepo tu ile majini kama mashetani.
Ni upepo ambayo imetumika.
All right, there you go. Ni pepo. Wengine waelewi ni nini. But you are able to at least define what it is.
Yes.
When you get to understand that majority of the community members here don't even know what carbon credits or carbon markets are, is that a worry for you?
Yes, essentially it is a worry. Like I did say, my parents are really illiterate, so they don't really understand what this is. And the conversations that were going on in the village is that we are going to get money for free. That's essentially what they were told, because do you know what carbon is? I don't know what carbon. Do you even know what carbon in the sense of, do you even know what you're breathing? You know, my people cannot tell you what they are breathing, whether it is oxygen. Them, they know, they were born, they are breathing, God gave them breath, that's it.
Yes.
So they cannot be able to really break down and say carbon, you know, there's climate change as a result of pollution, and therefore I have trees which do carbon sequestration. Therefore, you know, I am helping those people that are polluting the environment. So they cannot define for you what carbon is. Essentially, what the way they were sold that narrative is, did you have that money before? No. So what is your problem? Just sign the document, we will be giving you money. Have you ever seen carbon? No, I've never seen carbon, but we will pay you money.
Did they have an interpreter? Did they have someone from the community understanding the concept and interpreting to these gentlemen and those women what they are after?
So essentially, what they did, of course, they had people. They had people that they employed, and these people were then supposed to go into the community. And of course, the key thing here is you are supposed to go through the agreement together with the community members so that the community is able to understand what really carbon removal is. And, you know, of course, it is beneficial for the environment, but what are the implications of you signing the agreement?
Yes.
And essentially, I think this is where the company failed, if you ask me, because they employed the people, yes. But did you allow the community to get their own lawyer, legal representation, so that somebody else is interpreting for them the details of the agreement, so that if they totally agree with the details of the agreement, then they can sign the agreement, fully knowing what are the implications of that agreement? Because essentially, I don't mind free money, but it has a cost. There's no free lunch. I think they say there's no free lunch. So if really you're going to give me money, then there is a cost. But what is the cost? Because essentially that is the message we started asking the people. There's no free lunch. So if there is money involved, what is the cost to you? I think it's somebody who said, if you can't find prey in the table, you are the prey. You are the one who's being discussed and being hived off.
Yes.
So essentially, they failed that part, where then the community will be able to get an outside eye, not from the company, to go through the agreement, interpret the agreement, focus on some of the contentious clauses that perhaps will prevent somebody to get into a carbon credits agreement.
Do you think this was by design? Do you think this was intentional?
Now, this is my opinion.
Yes.
Yes, I think it was intentional. Yes.
Why?
Okay. If, for instance, you don't understand the price of your resource, and say the price of your resource is 20,000 shillings, and I come to you and I tell you, you know what, there's even nothing you are doing with this thing I just found in your homestead. I'll give you 2,000 bob for it. Okay? But here is the catch. It has certain conditions that is going to disrupt your way of life. If it has certain then I will try to hide those conditions which I know will prevent you from signing the agreement. The Maasai have a proverb that they say, Mindodo lake mbitir enkawu.
Me?
Mindodo lake mbitir enkawu.
Okay.
Yani, if you translate it, it means, do not show the warthog, the bow. Essentially, it means, if you're going to kill the warthog, don't show it the gun, because it will run away.
Yes.
So essentially, it looks like it was a managed process to result in our people signing the agreement without necessarily explaining. You know, in every agreement, there is a huge part that is good.
Yes.
But there is a part which it is very, very important for you to understand the implications of that part. And remember, this is English, and these people are not learned. Me, myself, having gone to school with a master's degree, I sometimes need a lawyer to explain to me in actual sense, what does that mean? So what about them? Do they stand a chance?
No.
They don't stand a chance. That's essentially the problem. So I think it was a process that was managed to end up in a certain result.
Sir, do you want to add something?
Yes, I just want to add something on that. Moses spoke what was the big deal with the company. Actually, we held a public participation 3 times inclusive in every sub-location. But question was, can you just take a group of people to a certain place where carbon credit has been operating before for 10 years, just for fact-finding mission, just to get information direct from the person on the ground? But actually they decided, no, we are going to do that after signing of the agreement. Remember that in 2010, Kenya got a constitution. That draft went through hands of people of Kenya. It was written by a group of lawyers. It went through the hands of people of Kenya in English and Kiswahili. People are given time to go through. The government went to an extent of employing people to interpret what is the meaning of that article. They know that finally there will be a referendum to vote for that document. So it was good for the government just to facilitate that process, so that if the referendum will be held, everybody will put and vote where he deserves, because he knows what is in the document. Actually, these people were rushing to sign this document, and we don't know the content of the document. For example, if you go to that document, that's the first writing. That is transfer of right. Even that worried us a lot. Because I myself, how can I transfer my right to carbon credit company, to that self of the future company?
Yes.
How can I transfer my right? That means that I will just be living in that land, just like somebody, I don't know to say
stranger.
that. A stranger. Somebody to decide for me what I will do to my land.
With my land.
Yes.
I have several years in my life. I've got 52 years. I have not seen any problem with the land which which I'm living with. I'm still managing. It's helping me. I'm also helping that land. I'm not overstocking, or I'm not mistreating of that land. So why do they come and tell me the way I should live? That is total. That shows me that it is a methodology of modern colonization. Because, for example, we Maasai are pastoralists. We had a lot of cattle, sheep and goats. What if we are told that we are going to graze in one part of land for some month, where we know that when we go to set aside that land, we are going just to graze for 2 weeks. Then the rest of the month will just be there. That means that you are being told indirect, sell your property to be few, so that the little parcel of land,
Yes.
they should not finish by that time, of which it is not
Possible. Moses?
So maybe Lynn,
Yes.
just to hammer that point,
Go on.
maybe open that section on free, prior and informed consent.
That is
4 point something, I think. Because remember that this is a draft.
yes.
Because we've also seen some inconsistencies. The draft that is given during the trainings and the actual document to be signed. Now, this is the tricky bit. Because remember that there are other Maasai communities. We have some in Amboseli. We have, of course, you know that in Amboseli, what you have essentially is group ranches.
Yes.
And these group ranches, they are also led by group ranch chairmen. So it is actually the committee that goes to sign these agreements on behalf of the group. So, and you find that whatever document they signed and this draft are different. So I'm wondering, why is it that it doesn't look like the agreement that was signed by those communities? Because essentially, that is the agreement that we will eventually
refer to.
End up to. So it's almost like a game here. You have two sets of agreements. You have an agreement that is used for training, but the actual agreement that will be signed is something different.
Good. As you find us that point,
Mm.
let's talk to this gentleman. He has something to add. I'm really happy to see young people in this baraza. Nafurahi, naona watu wadogo pia wako na nyinyi kwa baraza na ninafurahi sana. So maybe tell us your name and contribute your point.
All right, so thank you, Lynn. My name is Gideon Kanchori. I'm part and parcel of this group that has been leading this community to fight against impunity and to fight against anything that is not of goodwill to this community. So the reason as to why I said I needed to add something on what he's been saying, I actually intend to add a lot. Sorry for that.
Go on.
Reason being, to this community, there was someone who told you carbon credit, according to his understanding, is a devil.
People.
And that one has not been caused by what he has understood about it. It has been as a result of what he has seen about it. For the first time in this community since 1973, there has never been an actual war. So right now, Soils for Future Africa to this community is not just a carbon credit proponent, rather a warlord. Because for the first time, we've been to an actual war against our own people.
Mumepigana.
Yes, the reason as why we are seated here today, not being in the agreement, or rather handicapped by the carbon credit, rather I normally call them punitive policies.
Yes.
So as the reason as why we are not there today is because of blood that has been shed. We really regret that, but that was the only way, not the best way, but the only option. So seated here today, we have been to an actual war against our own people. And that one has been resulted to by the forceful agreement that was intended to be signed on the 30th of April, 2025. So first of all, this thing, the carbon credit thing for the Soils for Future Africa was first introduced to us in 2023. After then, we listened. We had given them an ear. Actually, this community has been in many troubles because of how much it listens to people. It loves visitors. It hears what it's told by visitors, and that's why we've been conned from time to time.
Yes.
Because the pure intentions we have are not what we get in return. So in 2023, we listened to them. They told us, that time they were even a little bit, they told us a little bit more than what they told us when they came back in 2025. That time we heard about grazing patterns. They told us that our place will be divided into 21 grazing blocks. They told us that there will be a gauge for grass that is the size of your palm. They told us that there will be, and in fact in that agreement, there is a rotational grazing pattern. That is to mean they will alter our grazing autonomy. that means that there will be a vast change in terms of our socio-economic way of life. That one alone scared us. And so they, to suit this community, to really make us see as if it's a good deal, they employed 2 of our people on a permanent contract and 5 of them on a short-term contract. I think it was for 5 months. So later on, we fought against them. We tried. At that time, we really had fought for what it had taken that time. And graciously enough, God awarded us a win, and we decided to scare away the investor. So he went and sat down. He went ahead to convince 3 more group ranches out of 4 in Magadi ward. That's all Kerry group ranch, all Kramaten group ranch, and Shompole group ranch. And right now, as we speak, all Kerry group ranch has started a revolution against the investor. Shompole is as well speaking under waters that he wants to fight the investor. I have not heard anything about Kramaten, but I am eventual that one day there will be a riot against it. So that means, well, they convinced the other 3 group ranches, they felt like that was not enough because we are the largest group ranch in this ward. So they wanted more space. They came back in 2023, had a meeting with the people that are followers of the current committee, people that are supporting the current committee. Because it appeared like when you're fighting, when you're fighting the investor, you're not only fighting him as a carbon credit proponent, you're also fighting the committee, group ranch committee, who are apparently now the marketing task force for the carbon credit investor. So while their supporters attended that meeting, actually we only had few people that were against the project. Moses, the Moses Maisia being one of them. So there was no freedom of expression. There was no freedom of speech. What you say against the investor could not be taken into account. The only agreement in that meeting was that we are to set a carbon signing deal day. So we heard about that and we said we must do something about it. So a group of young people who had a meeting, we made a vow that under no circumstance will we sit and have a look as things transpire.
Allow me, we'll pick a group of young people made a vow and said under no circumstance. Why? What's your why? What's your why, especially as young people? Why was this no important to you and for you?
Yes, because to us, this is not just a piece of land. This is home. Again, this is the definition of who we are. It's also, historically, our forefathers had lost many of their age mates. So our people had lost lives trying to guard this so that we find it when we are born. So we were born and we were given this as an inheritance. No matter how many stories there would be that some of us are squatters, some of us are non-members, we know that this is home and this is inheritance to us. So what really pushed us to actually fighting the carbon credit proponent, that the Soils for Future Africa for our case, was the fact that we need to safeguard what our forefathers had safeguarded for us, for our future generations that will come after us. So having answered your question, I'll proceed to tell you that we had a meeting, we made a vow, and we joined forces with a group that has stood for the longest time trying to oppose impunity and deals that are not of goodwill in this community. So after the meeting, we had a collective, a merger meeting with the 2 groups. From that day, things changed, and so we worked, and so we planned. We actually, as the young people, came up with emails that this is called Oldonyonyokie Group Ranch Elites. It's not my email. It's not his or someone else's. It is an email that has portrays all of us as the elites of this community. We wrote several emails to the Soils of Future Africa. We wrote emails to them. We would even sit in a group of 50, compose one message and send it to the country director, telling them that this is dangerous. We are going to plan a lot of riots against your company. We're going to be on social media walls preaching ill about your company, because that is actually what it is, according to our standard of what an ill thing is. So after that, they did not give an ear to that. They proceeded with signing or with strengthening relationship between them and the group ranch committee. After that time, we also planned a parallel riot against the set date, which was the 30th. For the first time since 2015, I again managed to see the stamp of Oldonyonyokie Group Ranch. That stamp will not be used in a hospital bill for a member. That one will not be used in a mortuary bill for a deceased one. But that day it was used because of the carbon credit signing day on the 30th of April 2025. So on that day, we woke up knowing that we are going to riot.
Yes.
Not going to fight.
Yes.
We know we are going to riot and we will be listened to. So we went to the field. They actually had put that signing on an open field. And what they would tell us is, in Maasai, they would say, ege sign carbon, pia siasa inaningajaja, ni yeu. Right? That means we are going to sign the carbon credit deal so that you do whatever that is in your capacity, whatever that you're able to do. So all we were able to do is only rioting. So in the morning we went, the other group was doing its arrangements to sign the agreement, and we were doing our arrangements to riot against it. So in that very morning, we tried to go to approach the other group to ask them where the meeting was actually taking place. They were very rude because they had planned. One day, one of the leaders in this place, who is a member of that group, told their counterparts that you guys need to be ready for anything. You guys need to have your knives sharpened. You need to make heavier sticks. You just come armed. We took that advice as well, because in Maasai there's a very popular proverb that goes by, so while that means when a father has two wives, and one of them he loves more than the other, and so the kids as well, he would love the kids of one wife more than the kids of the other. Whenever he is going to give advice to the favorite, even that who is not favorite might be giving an ear, and he would even heed it more than the other one would.
Yes,
right? You
yes,
get what I
yes,
say?
yes.
All right. So we took that, we heeded that advice, because we wanted also to be able to protect ourselves and be able to fight back if that was the extreme. And we had gotten to this space, and trust me, you by 8 o'clock in the morning, 11 of our people are in hospital. And because God was protecting this group, none of us was even given a painkiller, because we had protected one another. And the reason as to why we had actually resulted into an actual fight is because we went to ask them where the meeting was, and they told us, you guys are stupid. That was the first word, but they were speaking in Maasai. One of the counterparts of the committee. Actually, the members of the committee ran away. So their supporters came to face us. And we did not start the fight. They did. In fact, the person they kicked the first one was the oldest in this group, and it is this Mzee, right? Yes. And so they hit him so hard, and then we definitely had to protect our people. And so we resulted to a fight. Sad enough, 11 of them had serious injuries. Regrets for that. That's not a good thing to happen in a community, but we thank God for what result he had given us, that at the end of the day, the carbon credit was not signed. But that was not the only time we fought. After we fought at 8 a.m., we were able to at least have mercy on them, because they had ran away in the morning. So we did not do a follow-up on them. The only thing we wanted to do at the end of the day was making sure that no agreement would be signed. So unless you sign the agreement, you've not crossed our lanes. So in the afternoon, they had a lorry which was picking their members from all over. So they had a thought that they have collected enough, now they can face us. They have good numbers. So we were ready. In fact, we stood up to riot and actually hold leaves and singing that we don't want carbon, we don't want carbon. While we were doing that, they started throwing stones to us. And as definitely to defend ourselves, we decided to actually go to where they were to see whether they would still do that. We were in a war again. About 20-30 minutes, it was so intensive that they had to run. After they ran, we did not follow them again, but we had made sure we had chased them some short distances that they might not come back at the end of the day. So yeah, it resulted to that fight. People were injured. It disconnected the historical relationship between fathers and sons in Oldonyonyokie. Right now, For my case, my father is not my father in what values we have as a community. I have fathers who are younger than my father, and that is for continuity of respect and everything. So right now, most of them are in that camp, and because we fought with them, there's a very bad relationship between me and them. We will need a sit down, and we will need to compensate for beating them, for actually having to be in war with them. So you see what this investor had put us into. He had even destroyed the relationship that were in this community before he came. Yes. And the reason as to why we did not want this agreement was simply because we knew it is going to destroy our autonomy. It is going to alter the way of life. It is going to alter the grazing patterns. And in this community, in fact, we are in an area that you cannot grow maize. In an area you cannot grow wheat. The only thing you can do is keep large numbers of livestock because it's an open area, but it's a semi-arid area. So you understand when I tell you it is not, if you cannot grow maize and wheat and stuff. So all along we have lived to love livestock keeping because it has worked for us in such an area. And having to be in agreement with a new person means there would be change in terms of what you keep. How many numbers of livestock would you keep? All right?
They take control.
Yes, they take control. And this community, you can see we got a good forest cover. Yes. We have trees because we have had a historical way of making sure that our soil, our carbon sequestration in the soil is good, our trees are good, and the green cover is all over. There is values in this community that even prohibits everyone from cutting down a tree.
Yes.
So this is a community that has had ways of solving its problem. Even atmospheric problems, we have had our own ways of solving them. So we did not really need this investor to come in and impose their punitive policies in the name of environmental conservation.
Have they withdrawn their agenda? Have you spoken to these people and have they said, okay, we are out?
Right now, they don't reply our emails. Yes. We told them you need to communicate publicly. We actually told them they need to apologize for having to gone to the extremes of having to put us in warfare. We told them that we need a communication that you guys are not coming back. They are silent. There's even, as I would say, a misdiagnosis that they had already signed the deal on that day secretively, but it doesn't happen for someone who knows what's happening in Kenya today and in the outside world. It's not possible for someone to sign an agreement in secret, because you would need, in your archives, you would need evidence for generations that will come after us today who have seen you doing that. So we have not seen them communicate that they're not coming back. They have not given us a statement of withdrawal. They have not given us an apology. So we still have bad blood with them. We are really bitter for them. We are sending a strong message to them that they have put us to where no other investor, not even our good neighbor, Tata Chemicals Magadi Limited, have ever put us to. We have had demonstrations in Magadi and they have responded peacefully. But for their case, they were a warlord.
Zero.
Yeah.
It's very important to see you and such an elder existing together in the same baraza. How does this make you feel that you are being listened to, that even the older generation are paying attention to some of the things that young people are trying to communicate them on? How does that make you feel?
Thank you, Lynn. What you would understand about this community, the first very fragment that I'll tell you about it is that this is not a rigid community. It's actually a statement. For ages, this has not been a rigid society. It's a community that listens keenly. So when it had its own sons going to school, acquiring education and coming back, it is a very strong message to them that we are now a stronger community.
Good.
All right. So in fact, the only disclaimer you would hear in this meeting, if it was a normal day, they would only tell us, you sons of this soil that are educated, please take it as a slow pace. Make sure we know what's happening, right? Tupeleke pole pole. That's what they would tell you. But you would not hear them saying, but the other party, that's actually too bad. Our dads and old men in the other party actually says ill about education. They say that that's what they would say. That these guys who have gone to school are stupid. They are even worse. In fact, they say, you would hear that? They're even worse than us who have not gone to school.
Yes.
And you again wonder, because that daddy who says that has 4 or 5 guys in university and secondary schools. So you would wonder why someone is taking a kid to school, yet he feels like it. So it means they are seeing that education is changing form in this community,
Yes.
it's actually making good impact. It's only that they don't want to accept that carbon thing is more of harm than good to us.
Just one on carbon credit.
Yes.
We have our neighbors who are also Maasai from Tanzania, and they signed this thing like 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago. And some of the things that they're experiencing now, we are being told that this carbon is measured in tons. So every year, they will come and measure it, and they will tell you these are the tons, and this is what we will pay for it. So now they're being told that carbon this year is very low. So you'll have to move from this place and look for someone else for 3 years to settle as you wait for carbon level to gain or to rise. So imagine moving from your home for 3 good years just to please the investor, or to maybe to please the investor to do their business. So you see now the implication that will bring.
Yes.
We will also fear that such agreements will come to our community, whereby we'll be told to move from this place because carbon level is low, and you have no otherwise because you signed, so you'll have to move.
You'll have to
So
move.
we really fear about those agreements, the implication that will bring to our people.
That's your fear.
Yes.
Thank you, Evans.
Kwa nini Maasai tu ndio carbon anasunguka kutafuta area ya Maasai? Anaonekana sisi bado nalala. Lakini sisi Maasai mfungua mirangeti. Nataka kujua sasa ni nini carbon anatafuta area ya Maasai peke yake. Ndio sisi amekundua sisi kutoka Oldonyonyokie amefungua mirangeti. Sisi sitaki carbon.
Mimi nilikuwa naomba upeane message yetu clear kwa watu wa carbon. Let them not disturb us. Wacha tujilipie mashamba, ndio kama hiyo shamba ni moja niko nayo, watoto wangu wapate. Isiwe ninakuja kulipiwa 70,000, mtu akuja akae kwa shamba ya watoto wangu 40 years. Mimi niko na 40 and above years sahi. 40 years zingine shamba yangu ikikaa na sijapewa, watoto wangu watakaa wapi? Kwa hivyo tafadhali tunaomba watu wa carbon waende watafute mahali ingine watafanya hiyo miradi, watu waache sisi tutafute pesa ya mashamba yetu tulipe, hata kama ni hiyo moja uko nayo ukae, badala mtu akulipia 70,000 akukalie 40 years
kwa shamba. So Moses,
Yes.
a lot has been said.
Yeah.
I think we shifted from you wanting
No
to
problem.
hammer a point.
Yeah.
Maybe as we try to understand some of the things that don't make sense to you
Yeah.
on that document,
Yeah.
could you maybe brief us on that point you wanted to hammer and then wind this up for us?
This is essentially what we were saying, that because of not doing proper communication with our community, you find that most of the agreements become disadvantageous to our community. And, you know, in all honesty, if I want to do business with a community, I've already done the economics background and I know I can make a profit. What gets into people to really become greedy and give a community such a disadvantage, you know, so that when they even come down to discuss the benefit of something that might be beneficial to the community, it becomes disadvantageous. Why would I sign a 40-year agreement when I can sign a 5-year agreement, so that if I'm not satisfied with it, then I can always come out of the agreement? So those are some of the things that you've had. Maybe perhaps for purposes of your viewers, so that they also understand, we are very grateful that the Mining Act was passed, because so far Tata Chemicals has become, you know, at least it has started adhering to the Mining Act, which the Mining Act recommends that 1% of the revenue goes back to the local community. And we are grateful for that. But remember that it's been a long fight. It had to come to the Mining Act for our people to begin to actually feel the benefit of, you know, the resource that is right smack in the middle of my people. So we are grateful that now Tata Chemicals has taken a step to honor that Mining Act, which 1%. So 1% will start going into the community. We have a meeting this Friday to actually discuss the project that the community will propose for the fund, for the amount of money that will be given by the company back to the community. So that, of course, that has been a process. So we are grateful, and we hope that as we continue forward, then there will be further and further negotiations so that the resources that are available in our land can benefit our people. Just the same way Maasai Mara is benefiting the Purko community in Narok. So before I left off, there was a point that I was making. And that point has something to do with free, prior, and informed consent. Free, let the people themselves be able to get into these agreements so that they know what they're getting into, you know? So that if I'm doing business with the devil, I know this is the devil. I'm getting into business with the devil.
Yes.
What is my protection against the devil? But if it comes in such a way, because I was trying to explain, and I did tell you, already I'm realizing that some details in the agreement that is given for training is different from the agreement that will be signed. And I'm marking that so that then you are aware of the things that I'm about to say. For instance, one, I was in the meeting that, you know, it was passed that we are going to now bring that carbon agreement into effect. Remember, this thing was rejected 2 years ago.
Yes.
The community rejected it. When the community rejected it, you know, it stayed, you know, they let the tensions come for the next 2 years. And then now they brought it back again. And here is how you tie it to the illegal land subdivision that is ongoing in our division. One is that there was a huge part of land that was supposed to be sold for a certain price to facilitate the subdivision of the land. Okay, so there was that factor. When they tried to sell that piece of land, it was not possible. Of course, the reasons that they gave was that the market price, the price the market was offering was not sufficient. So here's the catch. So we went to this meeting to be informed about land subdivision. But in this meeting, it ended up becoming a meeting with the director of Soils for the Future, explaining to the community why we need to get into carbon.
So, and this then they would term it as public participation.
I wonder. So we went into the meeting, we discussed, we raised, of course, the points that we wanted to raise. And then somebody asked, because this looks like pre-planned meeting, somebody said, now that we are not able to sell our piece of land for the price that we agreed, what is your solution? They said, my solution is, let's bring back the carbon project. So the gentleman stands up and is speaking in this meeting. And the first thing he says, these people who went to school are causing a conflict between the community and Soils for the Future. This is I was there. I listened to him and I wondered, what? That is what he said. He said they are causing the conflict. And he's telling them in my language, he's telling them, you know, they went to towns and they became prosperous. They don't want you to prosper. Now I wonder, is that free, prior and informed consent? Because I'll read what the document here says in its warranty. This is what the document says. It says, each of the parties hereby warrants to and in favor of the others that it has legal capacity and has taken all necessary corporate action required to empower and authorize it to enter into this agreement. Now let's look at the people that constitute that committee. How many of them have gone to school? Kagwa isomare tina committee. 2 to 3 people. Standard 8. Do they have the capacity to understand this document for them to enter into an agreement with STFU on behalf of the community? I don't think they have. I don't think they really understand what this document is. So here is the guy standing, telling the community that, you know, you should sign the agreement because this agreement is going to be beneficial to you. And he's not explaining the nitty-gritties of the agreement. He's not telling the community what is your cost. We'll give you money, but what is the cost of that? What do you have to do for you to be able to earn?
Yes.
So I think free, prior, informed consent was not really done. So that one, let the community get its own lawyer. Let the lawyer go over the agreement. And this agreement should not vary on the day of the signing. I'll give you another interesting details. I was in that meeting. They said, okay, fine. Maybe perhaps many of you don't need that carbon agreement. You are not in agreement with whatever we are trying to do. So what we shall do, everybody that is in favor of discussing the carbon project, let him sign, and then we shall call a meeting of the people that agree with carbon, and then we can discuss our own carbon discussions. You hear the catch? So people signed. I was there. Now, on the day, which was 30th, I think what that young man was trying to explain, how that, you know, when they came up and skirmishes happened, and of course the young people being full of energy and in complete opposition to the carbon project, of course, whatever happened, happened. But here's the thing. So the agreement, whatever the document that was signed, which I took a picture of that document does not say these are the people that have agreed to have discussions on carbon. No, it does not say that. The document has the logo of the company. The document has, it even has no explanation. And then it has name, ID number, signature. Tell me what you can't attach on top of that document as an annex. You understand? You see how the game is played? So they say these are the people that will go into the discussion. But I think a few weeks later, they're now saying we are launching the project. But where did you get the signatures to permit you to now launch the project? You hear that? So all along they said the people that are in agreement, let them sign. But when we came for that meeting, it was now, we have the numbers that have permitted the carbon. There was not another discussion for people to understand and to learn and to sign new documents that will now permit Soils for the Future to bring in their carbon project. And mind you, let me just read another part of this confidential draft. And I'm actually worried that we might discuss this confidential draft and then they'll say that is not our document. Because I realize that some of the things that are put here are different from the things that they had said were going to be signed. For instance, remember that they said that it is all the people that have agreed to the project that will be called for a meeting to discuss that and then now offer their consent to the project. This is what it says in an annex, in a certain section they call conditions precedent. This is what it says. The entry into force of this agreement is conditional upon the community. 1. All the individual landowners in the project area have been issued with land title deeds for their land within the project area and providing certified copies of those title deeds. Kangaya or a title, Denny? Nobody has a title. So how is it that they are saying all individual landowners have been issued with land title deeds? We are not a group ranch anymore. Remember that, because the people agreed to subdivide their land. So they moved, they took a step to land subdivision. Then we've had a lot of, illegalities until the present committee is there. So now if the present committee really was following, the law that was guiding the group ranches, dissolution of group ranches, then they should have given everybody here a title deed. Then those people who have the title deed can then decide whether they want to get into an agreement
or not.
You see? Sorry. So if they don't do that, sorry, apologies.
It's okay.
If they are not doing what the community asked them to do, what business do they have to bring us to carbon? They don't have no business. And the agreement that STFU provided, they should also follow the agreement. The agreement says, if it's individual, let them have title deeds, then come and do business with us. Now, I'll give you what STFU did. Of course, I'm getting this from some of my friends I interact with, because Maasai community is Maasai community, whether in Tanzania or in Kenya. And these carbon projects are almost like, I think the old man was saying, why is it that they always come to Maasai communities? And for instance, their document here says, let me just read it. On carbon rights transfer, it says that STFA shall apportion and allocate by way of a grant to the community 70% of the net revenue generated from the sale of the carbon credits to third parties in exchange for the community's effective implementation of approved rotational grazing management plans and associated monitoring information as more particularly described in the benefit sharing agreement. 70%. I ask my people, they don't even understand what carbon is. Do they understand how much revenue our rights will make wherever it will be? Because now one of my friends did tell me, because them they have private land. So what they did as individual owners of the land, they came together, they formed a conservancy. So now the conservancy is supposed to get into an agreement on their behalf. But they said no. We want to get into an agreement because of the requirement for certified copy of the title deed, because it will restrict anything else that you're about to do on the land. Remember that. You're getting into an agreement that will restrict your usage of the land. And maybe perhaps later on I'll read some clauses.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is the case, what they did, they said, but how much are you offering? Now, whatever I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting it, you know, it's not, I can only maybe give you a document that was provided by another group. Of course, all these documents are confidential, but you know, our friends are sharing this document so that we can look and compare. Now that document, it says that $2 per hectare, the point that he was making across. And $2 per hectare, because I looked at it, I saw it was $2 per hectare. Here, it does not expressly mention how much they will give my community in terms of the amount of money per your piece of land. So, of course, that is information. It can be changed anytime. And this is the point that I was bringing you about. But is this actually the final document? Because it's kind of curious. If you look at the document that was signed by different groups in Amboseli, the document that the groups in Oldonyonyokie, which is Namanga, the groups, you know, the document that they presented, which is the final document that will be signed. If you look at that document, it is $2.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any reason ours will be different. And from what they were saying, it is actually that $2 per hectare, not per acre, which is $2 is about 260 shillings if you take the exchange rate of 130 bob. So if you take that $2, that is around 130 bob per acre. So 130 bob per acre. My people here might get around whatever the committee was saying, 92 acres to maybe 100 acres. So for purposes of simplicity, let's say it's 100 acres. So 100 acres times 130 bob, that is 13,000 shillings. Someone is paying you 13,000 shillings for 100 acres for a year. And remember, the agreement says that, you know, you cannot really change the usage of the land unless you have prior consent of STFA. So right now, if you go and hire a piece of land in Narok to do farming, how much do you think they'll charge you for 1 acre? Per season, that's around 6,000 shillings. You see? But remember, there's no agreement. It is word of mouth agreement. After that, 6,000, then you have to vacate the land. You absolutely have no right over that piece of land. But that is 6,000 times 2, because per season is 6,000. In 2 seasons, it is 12,000.
Per
1 acre is 12,000. Tell me, 100 acres will be how much? Around 120,000 shillings. So this is ridiculous. Why would you offer our people 13,000 bob for a 100-acre piece of land, while we know that the prevailing market price for leasing is around 120,000 shillings per year? You see how ridiculous it is? And then there are also conditions that are attached to that. So I'll give you now another example, because remember that a lot of this, you need a lawyer to be able to explain to you what it actually means. But now some of these people, like we have members of our family living in a place called Kilonito. I sat down with them. I said, gentlemen, have you heard about carbon? So they started also explaining to me what they had. Here is the thing, because now these are the conditions that are not expressly told to you when they are doing whatever they are calling trainings. So they told me, Eniaro jamba lo eka hii 270. If you have land of 270 acres, what enkishu na ye unini pigilo shamba, or the number of cows that you're supposed to put in that farm is 1 cow, what enkireng nabo nenya eka itomon. So 1 cow, 10 acres. So if you have 270 acres, how many cows will that be? 27. For them to give you 13,000 bob in 1 year. So essentially it is telling our people, and of course right now it doesn't look like so. In future it will mean you have to reduce the number of cows in that piece of land. Why? Because we know what cows eat. They eat the primary machinery that removes carbon from the atmosphere and puts it into the plants and into the soil. You see? So isn't that interfering with the way of life? That is interfering with my people's way of life. So I did ask them, because them, what they did, they had to, it was a one-on-one contract. So they had to explain to them that if you want to get into this project, these are the conditions. Because remember that these people in Kilonito, they have their own title deeds. So you have to explain to them the conditions, and they can get their own lawyers, and the lawyer can read the document, and then they can get into the agreement when they know fully what are the conditions. Now, ama lolorungana le carbon. Kero ligiri avantai mbaraki not na ira asil chamba ili nye ni saina na carbon. You see, they do not explain these things. They don't. Why? Because this is jail. You're tying up your land. You know you're supposed to provide certified copies of. Let me read another clause that I wanted maybe you. What a rando giri ni gralimu na ando giri na ati na agreement. Bongara me lejare na. That is lying to my people. So you find the document is written 2 years, but they are now saying even the director himself, he later on came to say 40 years. 40 years for what? 13,000 bob per acre. That is a joke.
He wants to add on that.
There is also another document I have seen somewhere in an email. The document says that if you were to sign carbon on 2023, the carbon contract will end in 2063. That is automatically 40 years. It has got no breakage of 5 years, 2 years, as they have said before. It is automatically 40 years.
Okay.
So the reason why we are against this carbon, because there is a lot of
opaqueness
messages or opaque information beyond this deal. Because 40 years agreement, to me, that means that I'll be 92 years. And you know the lifespan of somebody today is 70 years to 80 years. That means that I'll have a balance of 12 years. I've died, but the agreement is still
in effect.
Effective. What of my children? What if it be automatically renewed? It will be renewed another 40 years. That means that I kept my children in a trap whereby they will never come out of that trap. So actually, it was amazing. And we are proud as Oldonyonyokie members for the youth just to come and put everything on table about this carbon.
Thank you.
And I'm very much aware that even the signed group branches, they were not given this document. And now they must be regretting.
As we wind up, could you maybe touch on what this whole event and the awakening, what does this mean to you and the members of your community? And maybe talk to other Kenyans who are out there signing agreements that will affect generations after generations after generations. What can they learn from what you guys are trying to demonstrate? And also maybe, could you talk to the Soil for the Future Africa? What message does your community have for them?
So, essentially, Oldonyonyokie community, right now where it is, we have our own issues to deal with. It pains me so much that there was actually land subdivision that was ongoing. A lot of illegalities in land subdivision. I have had it across, these lands. As a young man, I took my father's livestock all over. I know these people. These are my brothers. But now what is happening, they are going to lose a lot of land because of underhand land subdivision dealings. You see? So they are in danger as a result of what the committee is doing, which has a lot of opaqueness in it, which has a lot of illegalities in it. Of course, we've tried the legal way, and the legal way is always slow. And we hope even the Kenyan court system we are asking the Law Society of Kenya, we are asking all these organizations, please come in and help, because there is a lot of illegality. My people depend on this land. If you tell my people to keep 20 goats in a 100-acre piece of land, those number of goats are not able to take care of my community. Livestock production needs huge areas of land. And so essentially, by tying up these pastoral areas, they're essentially killing my community. Because when they take away the land, then they have effectively cut off the biggest, the biggest means of livelihood.
For you.
Exactly. So I like to tell STFA, the company, please, people have written emails to you. We've had demonstrations on this road. Please stay away from our land. What is your problem? Stay away from it. People have rejected it. People don't want that carbon thing. Let us sort our own issues. If perhaps in future we might be interested, maybe we might give you a two-year contract, you paying us 1 million shillings for 100 acres every year. We don't mind that. Everybody wants money like that. But, that will be value for money, short-term contract that will end if we feel that, it's not for the benefit of the society. So time and time again, my people have risen against this thing. It was fought off 2 years ago. They have fought it off again. We are beseeching the committee and that organization, stay away from our lands. Let us fight to bring back the land that is about to be stolen through illegal land subdivision.
He raised a very important point as we wind up. Why are they interested in these particular communities, and why the long contracts? Do you think this is by design?
Yes, this is essentially by design. Just the same way when the British came to Africa, they signed these ridiculous 999-year leases for some of these huge pieces of land where they never paid for the land. They just came in, gallivanting all over the world, taking over people's land, saying this is our land now, making our tribal leaders sign into those ridiculous agreements. The same thing is happening. I just showed you that if really they went by their document, what the document says, then essentially they should have permitted our community to get legal representation, to go over through the document. Then the legal representation will advise the community whether this is a beneficial deal or not. Because remember that you are transferring the rights to your land. It's not just carbon. You are transferring the rights to the usage of the land, which essentially means they will begin to dictate how you shall use the land. So, of course, right now, they do not really say that. You see, but the agreement, that the 40-year agreement is what actually says that. And I did tell you in the beginning that I was in that meeting, and my people were made to sign this document that does not say what it is for. And then that document, I believe that is what will be used to attach on the 40-year agreement. So essentially they signed what they did not know what they were signing.
I want to take this moment to appreciate all of you for taking your time to have this baraza with us. Yes, and I would also want to encourage more conversations like this, because this is the only way we can be able to have impact in our society. Thank you. And to you guys who are watching back at home, I really want you to tell me what your thoughts are on today's conversation. It is the year when we will intentionally have these conversations in our homes, in our communities, in our villages, because I believe this is where change starts. So on the comment section, do write me what your take home has been on today's conversation. I believe the more we have conversations around carbon, around these new colonial ways of mastering our people, then, you know, we get to learn and learn a thing or two. So on the comment section, share what your thoughts are. We will definitely be reaching out to the Soil for the Future Africa for their version of this story. So check out, maybe at the end of this show, what is their feedback. And if they do not reply to us as well, it will be attached on your screen. But write to us, what else would you want us to have in common barazas, or where would you want to see us next? A huge thank you to my team for taking their time to put this work together. Scholar, Muga, Joshua, AJ, and also our kid who is interning with us. We appreciate all of you and the entire team at LNN for creating impact one story at a time. Share with us your views on carbon and this new version of colonizing the African mind on the comment section below. Should we give it a chance as Africans, or is it a big no? And if we were to give it a chance as Africans, how best can we be able to do it to make sure that our people benefit? My name is Lynn Ngugi. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. Bye-bye.